you got a veteran group, but you got a new offense you're learning. I guess I'm wondering how much carryover is there? How much does the experience help, or is this really kind of starting at square one for
It's definitely not starting at square one. It's kind of fun because we're talking probably more like a calculus level of math. Like if you were doing arithmetic and then went straight to subtraction, two different things. We ran a wide zone concept last year. We've run all the gap schemes, and football, they really are what they are. The fun part for me personally has been, Casey and I, we get to coordinate with Grimes and hey, what little nuances, what techniques have you used? He's been super about what do the guys know? What's the best? What do you look? So we've been able to it's more technique and really maybe a landmark on something than it really is rules or plays. It's all new terminology, which that took the guys a little bit through walkthroughs, but we're able to pick up and play fast because a lot of it's the same plays. It's just the intentionality, the fundamentals, the very details of the play are slightly different in certain spots. So it's allowed the older guys especially to play fast.
Coach, we've seen a couple of people at right guard, Emerson, JP, and Kerry. What have you kind of seen from that group as they kind of competed up?
Yeah, because it's an equal group and they all bring a different strength, from experience to physicality to mix of both. We're going to keep working that, and I think it's going to be norm. You're going to see 7-8 guys. That's the goal. Knock on wood, we were able to go through the whole season last year with the same 5 starters. That's awesome. If we can do that, you still got to keep guys engaged because a bump, a bruise, a shoe breaks, a carry ankle goes in on a big 3rd down against Alabama, and nobody even noticed. Pick it up, protection, here we go, playing center, which is probably the hardest position to rotate. But no, we have a group of guys right now I'm really excited about. Not just the right guard spot, but a couple of other spots where the next guy, they're still the next guy for a reason. That's why they're not rotating. But that right guard spot's fun to watch right now. I think you guys, following you guys, you recognize the same stuff. So
who's emerged just kind of as a leader of this group so far?
It's easy to say, hey, all 3 of the older guys are. I think Riley does a great job from an example, and he's a guy that kind of waits, and then when it boils up, he's got like the coach mentality a little bit. Where I think Jake Renfro's the guy that day in and day out is, hey, here's the standard, here's what we have to do, make sure we're doing this. He's grabbing guys. He's got a little serious tone about him that it's been fun to see that evolution.
When you have a couple of experienced guys like that, like Jake and Riley, that have played a lot of football, like how do you balance what they need to learn through this new stuff in spring football versus knowing like, hey, we need to choose through the fall, okay?
Yeah, 100%, and that's a huge piece that Fig hits us on every day. Is like, hey, let's make sure we're balancing this stuff, and we know who's getting reps, because you got to play football to get better at football. But all those guys, like, you got 3 returners back, runners playing next to Haywood, who the communication's different. So that's as big for those older guys, the communication, the trust, the feel of the guy next to him. Just like Riley with the 3 guys that are working a little bit, or Jake with that side. Hey, who can we put between them? Who helps? Who makes them play smoother? That's the one thing with the O-line is your best player as a young guy might not be the best guy to glue them together and let them all play fast. So that's part of the rotation too.
With Haywood, what have you seen from him so far, and where does he need to get better heading into hitting the league?
I mean, you've seen his offseason with Brady and stuff, just from a strength standpoint. His change of direction has gotten better. His functional movements are better. Pass pro, he's redirecting faster. I think that's the biggest thing is you see his functional movement for the position. And he's made that a conscious effort all offseason.
We've seen Leighton Nelson get some work at both right and left tackle. Is that kind of what you envision when you help kind of get him to transfer here?
We had some serious depth issues. And, you went through, Haywood was our swing tackle all last year, especially with him getting hurt, with Leighton getting hurt this summer. But, he was a tackle previously that I had spent time with him. I'd seen him play tackle. There's a little bit of trust factor there with I know. And he was in that guard mix early, but you just had to go, hey, who's going to be the guard to let them battle it out? And he's doing a great job right now at both tackles. He's a really smart football player.
Last year there was a lot of turnover with this position group. Really not as much this year. And I mean, can you speak to what value has that been overall in terms of just the collective growth and development of this entire
I think in that room specifically, and our team, Vic talks about it all the time, you take care of the team will take care of you. It's the same thing in that O-line room. If you put your work in every day, you do what's best for that room, when you get your shot and you get your chance, you're going to produce. That room will take care of you. You're going to get more reps out of it too. And they help each other. And those 3 older guys do a great job right now from a kind of a legacy standpoint of like they're taking those young guys. I mean, you'll see out here a lot of times Riley Mollman has Nolan Davenport, who just through some health and things like that, he's getting a lot of reps with the 2s. And you don't notice him all the time. Yes, he's younger. He gets driven back at times. He's not at the strength level yet. But what to do, how to do it, where to be, take a smart kid that's tough and willing, you don't notice him much. And that's because of Riley doing a great job helping him pre-practice, post-practice study. Same with Renfro and Ryan Corey. You see, those guys are doing a great job from a legacy standpoint. So I think that's the biggest thing is I think you keep working on that.
I was going to ask Coach about Ryan Corey. Where have you seen kind of some of the most growth and progress from freshman season?
I think the biggest growth for Ryan Corey was kind of middle of the season last year. He went from a guy that hadn't played, was a really good defensive lineman and hadn't played a ton of O-line. So that transition is different. If you think about it, as a D lineman, you're trying to close space on every run play, separate and find the ball. As an offensive lineman, you're trying to close space, press the block. You don't want separation. That's a huge difference in how you play every day. So he transitioned mid-season. It just flipped for him. And you saw him get in a couple games to play a little bit at guard, and where he didn't have to worry about snapping. But he's doing a really good job right now, and I'm excited about where he's going. Jake's great for him to kind of weather the storm in the transition here through his next year.
Coach, you mentioned Leighton Nelson. Colin Hubbard is another guy who started at tackle, kind of is now playing a lot of guard. What are some of the traits that you like from tackles and from guards, and how do those guys kind of fit into those roles now?
Well, I think, stereotypically, and it carries because the position you got to block, your tackle's got to be a little quicker and a little better in open space, but your guards got to be twitchy in a phone booth, because the D tackles now, they're not just big guys that lean on you anymore. So you see DP in there playing 3 technique. If you try and just jump on him and lean on him, he's going to make you fall and make you look goofy. But I think Coverly's biggest thing he's done is the game is slowing down for him. And still some of those growth things. He was kind of a guard all spring last year, played some tackle at the end to help us out. Same type of deal. You get through a rough physical spring ball, guys are moving around a little bit, especially the young guys. So he's back at it. I mean, he played guard all season. I think it's really slowing down, letting him play one guard spot and see everything. Because he's doing a lot better right now. You see his growth happening.
Coach, I know it's still early, but have you seen anything from a guy like Nolan Davenport coming in first practice?
Yeah, we got really smart. Even Roski, who hasn't done anything. Him, Nolan, Hardy, they're guys that are really high football IQ. So they can pick it up, they go, and you've seen Hardy in and out a little bit just from some rotation. I think it's important for them to know, hey, from the 3s to the 2s, it's a different game. It's faster, it's louder, its communication's different. So it's important they're in there to feel that. But that freshman class is really sharp. And I think that helps a guy until he gets to that size, which that takes some time and growth. But the faster he can pick it up, the faster he can get on the field to help us.
Joe Brunner, he's second year as a starter now. He's a veteran. What have you seen in terms of his development? What kind of stands out in year 2 of him being your starter there?
Yeah, I think Joe's biggest thing is his poise. He was always running really hot, the engine. And so he's the guy I'm like, oh, is he going to take it too long or too far? And he does a little bit, but I'd rather have that than anything else. Where he's grown is he can run his governor, and he can stay at a high speed, and he plays within the confines of the game. And that's where he's definitely a physical leader for us. He plays with a little bit of edge, but he's much more consistent and not up and down, where he might have been a year ago in his first year as a true starter.
There's a lot more under center snapping now for your centers. When you go from that transition to almost entirely gun to that mix, what for a coach, what do you have to do to help those guys out? Is it just giving more snaps, or
in 2025, unless you're from the Midwest, most of it's shotgun anyway. You got to teach a kid how to snap under center and a quarterback how to take it. But we're very fortunate. These guys, again, Jake, as a coach, you go out and help them through a lot of that stuff. It's actually under center's easier for the linemen because it's right there. The quarterback riding in and hand placement, all that stuff's a big deal. But the shotgun stuff is where it gets a little harder because as a center, I got to go hard left, ball's going right, I got to put it on the spot. My body's turning, but I still got to snap it. So there's a little more variance because of the space. So I think it's actually, once they just get the initial, hey, I got to snap and block at the same time, that's the hardest thing. And it's not a huge difference.
when it comes to Emerson early on, what has made you so confident for him to be able to rotate with the twos, with the ones this way?
Emerson's football IQ's grown. He plays fast in there with those guys. He might be the most explosive guy in the whole unit as far as like dent and line of scrimmage movement. And, you know, he's a guy that his confidence, he had to know, yeah, you're good enough to play with these guys. And when you do that for a young guy, boy, and he knows you believe in him, and he's hitting it running. And so does he make some mistakes? Sure he does. Same as Ryan and Haywood and some little mistakes along the way that end up being big when you're out there with the ones, they show up. But he's playing physical, and he's really learned just to play through it. Play through it, learn more reps, bank it. His mistakes have really gone down, but his physicality's gone up.
One of the big points of emphasis for the defense was getting bigger up in the front seven. Have you noticed that coaching against them?
Yeah, I've noticed that, but the thing I've noticed the most is that D-line, man, they have fun. And our guys lifted together all offseason, O-line, D-line, and, you know, Perk and even Suggs don't say a whole lot. Perk going to talk for enough for both of them, but these guys have a fun banter. I saw somebody caught it yesterday, Haywood and Cheeks, man. But that whistle blows the eye, man, I got you next to him. And that iron sharpens iron, that FE squared, it's there because they worked with each other in the offseason. So there's a respect factor of, hey, we're gonna throw a blow and they're gonna throw a blow, and we're gonna come out of this thing after 15 practices a hell of a lot better. Yeah, just banged up a little bit. They're still checking everything out, but.
With two new starters, there's a lot of talk when it comes to chemistry about quarterbacks and receivers developing chemistry, but with an offensive line, like, how do they go about developing chemistry?
I think it's trust. You got to trust 5 guys blocking people, 6, 7, 8 other guys, and you don't get to look at anybody. And as it's all going fast, you got to communicate verbally, physically, so that feel, you know, that's where these walkthrough days and stuff like that is such a big deal, as they get that feel. And there's a reason Kerry Kadenko's in there. Kerry's a physical player. Kerry's got the trust of the guys next to him. He knows what he's doing. He communicates loud. So those are all things that let the guys next to him play fast. You know, I was a glue guy. I wasn't good enough to play, but I allowed the guys around us to play faster because at least I'd be in the right spot. I might not win a lot of battles. That trust factor of guys blocking people next to him, I think that's the biggest thing where the glue really happens.
Coach, at the tackle spot, you went from Jack Nelson to another pretty unique physical guy with Kevin Haywood.
Yeah.
How unique is it as a coach to be able to coach those guys where, you know, taller, a different kind of style of offensive tackles than you might have coached in the past?
Well, I think here's the deal. That's why you come to coach O-line at Wisconsin. You know what I mean? You get to recruit the best O-linemen in America, and you can go recruit against anybody. Is you get the guys that might be an inch or two longer, but just as physical or just as strong. You get to recruit the guys that might be all the high character, check the boxes, they're doing everything you want, they're great leaders. Oh, and they're really good blockers. There might be 15 of them in the country. You could be in a game with all of them. And they know that. That's why they come here. So it's to coach those guys, that's the expectations. You're going to be a tackler here at Wisconsin. You're going to be a big, long athlete that likes to get physical, and that's what we're out recruiting.
Did the change in style of the offense change at all? What type of guy you're looking for in recruiting, or maybe body type or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know if Grimy and I have had fun. We think pretty similar in a lot of things about denting the line of scrimmage. And so from a recruiting standpoint, at least in my 1 year here, not really, but the premium on physicality is a piece that, and you say that everywhere, but that's we're going to line up, whether it's wide zone or tight zone or gap scheme, or it is about denting the line of scrimmage. You got to find guys that seek contact, and that's what we love right now. These guys are doing it.